Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, on this Wednesday. Welcome to Ask the Theologian. Glad you're here. I'm Dr. Randy White, and we put our brains and our Bibles together and become theologians, considering biblical, theological, and worldview issues. You can submit your questions 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at askthetheologian.com. And we come today to see what is it that is on your mind today. And people gathering in from around the world, including Piedmont, South Carolina. And for that, we are grateful. And how about today we start out with a moment of evangelical garbage? I am Randy White, the author of Evangelical Garbage, How Evangelicalism is Confused, Manipulative, and Downright Dangerous. And today I want to talk about the manipulative portion of it. I have seen going around several places on social media this picture right here. Of course, it's a perversion of Leonardo da Vinci's famous Last Supper picture. And this particular perversion of his picture, of course, you notice the table is empty. And that picture goes along with these words. I'll just go ahead and put it up. I don't have a fancy graphic to put it up. I just copied and pasted. And this has been, again, going around on social media. I copied it right off social media. Here's what we've got. Oh, borrowed. And oh, my, how true. How true. It's not true. But let's go into it. What would it look like if the disciples valued worship and community like many believers do their church gatherings? I smell manipulation. What if the disciples valued worship and community? By the way, that is woke talk, worship and community. Your pastor comes and says, "Welcome to worship and community today." He's either woke or he's been listening to woke. That's the only people who say that. Those of us who just, study the Bible, we might say, "Welcome to Bible study today. We're gathered here today for church. Glad you joined us for some preaching today. Amen?" But what if we valued worship and community? You gotta keep your ear to the ground on this code language that says woke, 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 and manipulative. Here we go. Peter, my mother-in-law, came for the weekend. Andrew, I was up kind of late last night. James, really needed some me time. John, I was there last week. Besides, I'm not really getting fed. Philip, had a sunny day, hit the lake. Bartholomew had brunch scheduled with my Uncle Zed. Thomas, I doubt it would have been good today. Matthew, had to get my taxes done. James, my dad wanted to fish today. Thaddeus, the kids needed a rest. Simon, I didn't hear my alarm because I didn't set it, because I don't have one. Judas, getting tired of hearing the same old message. Now, it's a guilt trip. Pastors, evangelical woke pastors, love to spread this kind of stuff because it's a nice little guilt trip. Hey, I'll get Jim and Cliff and John and Nancy. I'll get them to church Sunday by showing them they're a lot like Judas or like Thaddeus. Kids just need a rest today. So selfish of those. What if the disciples had been like that? Then this would have been the picture of the Last Supper. Well, it goes on. It has a little conclusion here. Going to church is not about checking off a religious box off your Make God Happy list. It's about being invested in the lives of others, participating in the mission of the gospel, more code speak here, loving and being loved. Following Jesus was never meant to be a solo experience. Pull up a seat at the table. It's a level table and there's room for all of us. And then that's a little bit of a guilt trip and a little bit of a manipulation trip. What if What if going to church, you and I going to church is absolutely nothing like the disciples gathered in the last room for the Last Supper? What if making that connection just is pure manipulation? Furthermore, what if they're making up all these flimsy excuses for me and you, just like they made them up for the apostles, because there's nothing true in that at all? What if, oh my, how true, is just manipulation, totally false? What if? You know, I think that. I'm a pastor. I love it when people come to church. I absolutely love it. Sometimes if they miss, sometimes I'll check on them. Usually I'll check on them if I think, something must be up, because, you know, they said they would be here. They're always here. I know they're not out of town. You know, have they fallen and they can't get up? What's up? I should check on them. And I do that not so much for pastoral reasons as humanitarian reasons. I just want to make sure everything's okay. But, you know, if there are people out there who just, you know, whatever. I know some Sundays they decide to get up and some Sundays they don't. I love them. I'm good. I'm happy when they come. And I'm not going to guilt them into trying to be there. I'm not going to chase them. I've been there, done that when I was carrying out the Southern Baptist brochure. I don't do that anymore. It's like I treat a congregation like big boys and girls. You all have a car. You make your decisions. You decide when to come. And I think that makes the meal so much better. And I do want to try. If I'm going to manipulate, here's how I'm going to manipulate. I'm going to try to put something on the table that's worth coming to. If it's not worth coming to, we're all short on time. Go do what you need to do. Big boys and girls. That is today's moment of evangelical garbage. Thanks for joining us today. I'm glad you're here with us and just checking out the info, that which is coming along here, and good to see everybody. You know, I saw a discussion. I want to take, before I even get into the questions, I saw a discussion. It took place. We have a little discussion group on Facebook. It's called Randy White Ministries Discussion Group. And let me just say, first of all, I am woefully inadequate about paying attention to it. My social media, today what I tend to do on social media is I get on, I post something, and I get off, and I haven't figured out the alert thing, so a lot of times somebody will respond, and I miss it till, 3 months later, and I happen to go back and look at it and say, oh, well, that was a good response, or whatever. Anyway, we have this discussion group, and I popped in it and noticed this really good discussion that was going on. Some of you were in it. And it was about right division and sort of getting chastised from the local evangelical church because you believe in right division, and shame on you, and don't you know how bad this is. Anyway, there was a comment in there about Ephesians chapter 3, and it had to do with whether or not Paul alone received the mystery. Whether the mystery is Pauline and Pauline only. Now, of course, anyone who is a right divider would believe that it is Pauline only. But the discussion there, based again on Ephesians chapter 3, let me just see if I can get us to Ephesians chapter 3. Here we go. Paul talks about the dispensation of the grace of God, which is given me, you word. By revelation, he made known to the mystery. And it's really about verse 5 here. In other ages was not made known unto the sons of men, as it is now revealed unto his holy apostles and prophets by the Spirit. Okay, the comment that came out was, see, it's not just Pauline, it was also given to his holy apostles and prophets by the Spirit. So the mystery was given to others as well. Now, that is not a position that I hold, but let's try to deal with that position just a little bit and play with it a little bit. Let's go ahead and question the assumptions. So, Ephesians 3:5, made known to the holy apostles and the prophets. First of all, that verse does not tell us who made it known. And you would have to deal with some contextual issues, but I'm not even going to go into that. You would have to deal with the contextual issues like, why did Paul say he made it known to me, the dispensation of God given unto me, if it was also given unto them? That's kind of arrogant a little bit. Given unto me, well, actually it was given to everybody. That's the standard dispensational position. It was given to everybody. Ephesians 3:5, to the holy apostles and the prophets by his Spirit. Given to everybody. So, but anyway, let's skip that for a moment. And let's say, okay, let's go ahead and assume, and this is how I like to learn, is the scientific method. Let's make a thesis, and then let's test the thesis. Let's make a hypothesis, and then let's put it to the test. So it was made known, our hypothesis is the mystery was made known to the apostles and to the prophets. Okay. If that would be true, I suppose I could find lots of evidence that they knew it. Show me the evidence. Show me the pre-Pauline evidence of the Pauline mystery. Where is it? I'll look for it in Acts 1. You said, no, it didn't come out till Acts 2. Okay, I'll look for it in Acts 2. I'll look in Acts 3, 4, 5. It's probably in 6, 7, 8, 9. Come on, where are you? I got Paul in Acts 9. Where is the pre-Pauline evidence that they knew this mystery? If you take this verse, okay, we've got revealed to the holy apostles and the prophets, and we assume that was revealed by Paul, not by Paul, through the Spirit. Certainly says by the Spirit there. But the Spirit, could the Spirit have used Paul to reveal it? Could Paul be the one that voiced the mystery and they didn't know it until they talked to Paul? Could that be true? Okay, let's reject that. Say, no. The Spirit went and made a revelation to them. Okay, then they're bound to have mentioned this. If it came by revelation to Paul, it surely came by revelation to them too. But where? Can't find it. How much evidence is there? None. None whatsoever. Yesterday I mentioned to you that I'm watching The Legend of Wyatt Earp, the old TV series. And Wyatt wanted the vigilante crew, the Citizens Council, I think they called it, which was this vigilante crew. He wanted them disbanded. He said they were crooked. Imagine that. He said they were crooked. He wanted them disbanded. He only had one witness. But the trial time came and the judge was there and she didn't show up. And the judge said, I don't go by hearsay. You got to show me some evidence. And of course, everybody in the audience like me he lost this case. I know he's right, but he lost this case because there is no evidence. Well, lo and behold, she walks in just in the nick of time, just as Hollywood would do it, and save the day. With evidence. And when the evidence came, the Citizens Committee was disbanded. Okay, so the mystery came pre-Pauline. I'll take it if you can show me the evidence. If not, I'm sure you're a nice guy, a nice gal. But there's a lot of nice guys out there. A whole bunch of them. And what they feel, honestly, even if it's, let's say, Harry Ironside. Well, Harry Ironside said, I don't want Harry Ironside's feelings. I want biblical evidence. Show me the mystery pre-Pauline. You can show me that, I'm good. I've changed a lot of theological positions over the years. I'll change that one. I'll be good with it if you can show me the pre-Pauline evidence that they had the mystery. Show it to me with the evidence. Now, if not, I'm going to say your feelings and Harry Ironside's feelings aren't worth a warm bucket of spit. Not at all. So where's the evidence? Okay. Then we do, and I jumped into this just a moment ago, but not only, if it's not Paul only, show me the evidence. Number two, if it's not Paul only, deal with all the me passages. And you have that in Ephesians chapter 3, again in Ephesians chapter 3, verse 1. But this is one of, I don't know, I'll say at least a dozen, and there's probably far more than that. But these me passages like verse 2, if you have heard of the dispensation of the grace of God, which is given me, given me, given me, given me. He just keeps saying that through his letters. It was given me. I had a revelation, he says. This was given unto me. This is my gospel. This is the gospel that I preach. Deal with 1 Timothy chapter 1, verses 15 through 16, where Paul says, I am the pattern for all who come hereafter. So, show me the evidence. I don't think you can, but go ahead, show me the evidence. Number two, deal with the me passages. If everybody else had it, or all the apostles at least, if they all had it, just like Paul, Paul is the most arrogant of men who ever lived. He is just stuck on himself. Me, 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 me. And you would want to slap him and say, everybody else too, Paul, come on. Quit being so Paulish. Why is he so, why? Deal with the me passages. I think that's what you would have to deal with. So number one, give me the evidence. Number two, deal with the me passage. And then deal with the third issue I want you to deal with. If it, okay, it came out to Paul, where that's our hypothesis. It came out not only to Paul, but also to all the others. Why Paul? Why did God even need Paul? The only thing you can come up with, I mean, maybe you got something better than I do, but I think the only thing you can come up with on why God needed Paul is to say, by necessity, the 12 were either ineffective or sinfully selfish. Racist, ineffective, sinfully selfish. Why else would God, I mean, if Peter, James, John, all the others, all knew the Pauline mystery and, taking it to the Gentiles and the one new body in Christ, there's no need to come to Paul and give a revelation. It's kind of like, remember the story of the guy who descends into torment, and he says, send someone from the dead to talk I have 5 brothers. Would you send them? And the Lord's response is paraphrase, obviously, but the Lord's response is, they got preachers out there. They got people witnessing to them. They got the Word of God. Why should I send somebody from the dead for them? Okay, if everybody else has the message, why should God do the whole road to Damascus thing? Why not just show up in Damascus and let Ananias and the others tell Paul, Paul, let me tell you what we've been preaching. I guess they're just ineffective doofuses. By the way, in fact, I think we're going to have this in one of our Unlearn It series, which begins this Sunday, Deprogramming Evangelical Mind. We're going to have a sermon. I think this one came from Stephanie, this idea from Stephanie in the big country of Texas, that the apostles were doofuses, racist, sinfully ineffective. You have to come to that position if you don't take a Pauline exclusive. So there it is. I've laid out the gauntlet. I will become a standard dispensationalist, a run-of-the-mill hypo-dispensationalist. Hypo, not hyper. Lethargic dispensationalist. I will become one if you can show me the Pauline mystery pre-Pauline, and you can deal with the me passages, and you can deal with the why Paul issue without throwing the other apostles under the bus. Those are 3 pretty big issues. By the way, I wonder if I'm willing to change. I wonder if you're willing to change. Well, no, Harry Ironside said. I think if we deal with it, we'll see that there was this exclusive thing that was Pauline. And the other apostles, no doubt, they did hear about it under the Spirit by the mouth of the Apostle Paul. There's several times that's the testimony in the Scripture. Now let's see what's on your mind today. I was looking to see, did I promise a question yesterday? I'm not sure that I did. Here's one. I'm sorry, this is a couple of days old, and then I'm going to get to Robert's question. Robert and Nancy have a question, and then I've got room for some more today, probably. The question is, and this one, probably I should do some research. Normally I don't do research on these questions ahead of time. But the question is, what is Scientology? Scientology is, I'm going to put it in my own words, and then we're going to put a little bit of thought into it. Scientology, first of all, don't get it mixed up with science. It is a... Let me back up. Let's start with the name, Scientology. The word on science. Ology is the word on. Often we say the study of, so we could go with that if we want to. The study of science, the word on science. Science itself deals with the physical world, and the physical world only, by necessity, because you can only put a hypothesis to the test if there's a physical aspect of it. So Scientology ought to be, if it's aptly named, it ought to be, I trust in matter as the ultimate God. It would be as saying there are rules scientific mathematical rules of nature that are my God. I serve those scientific mathematical rules of nature. And there are scientists out there, some scientists out there who are like that. Now, by the way, Scientology and a lot of so-called science out there has moved beyond the physical and testable world. In fact, a year or so ago when the trust the science or follow the science garbage was going around, that whole thing itself, trust the science, was not scientific. Because to trust the science is to say, we have put this to the test, and here is the empirical evidence, and we go with the truth of the hypothesis based only on the testable evidence. That is science. Anything else is trust our hunch, trust our agenda. It's not trust the science or follow the science. So if Scientology was aptly named, it would go by science, by the rules of physical nature. And I would be decently honorable towards a person who held that belief. I think they're completely wrong because I think there's far more than the physical world. But if they stated, this is my belief, is that matter has always existed and it has existed under these rules, therefore these rules are the rules for living. E equals MC squared kind of thing. That's the rule for living. I could go with that. Again, I think they're wrong, but at least they would be honest. Say, I don't believe there is a God. I believe there are nature's rules, and I go by nature's rules. But that's not Scientology. Scientology is a metaphysical, moving away from the physical. It's a metaphysical approach to life. L. Ron Hubbard, if you want to talk about science fiction, okay. L. Ron Hubbard was he one of the founders of Scientology? Let's go ahead and let's just go to Scientology.org. They got some sort of, I'm sure, sappy thing there. Let's see if they've got up here somewhere. Yeah, L. Ron Hubbard's there. What is Scientology? Creeds and codes. Let's try that. Let's just look at it a little bit and see what we've got. Okay, adherents of every religion are bound together by creeds and codes. I like the creed. No creed but the Bible. But there's a sense of truth there. Okay, state their admirations, their duties, their mores, their belief. Oh. The codes and creeds of Scientology were written by L. Ron Hubbard in the 1950s, so basically it's a Johnny-come-lately religion by a science fiction writer. They set these guidelines for practice and expansion of Scientology. Included in these are creeds and codes for the auditor, the supervisor, the manager, that's like the preacher. Codes by which all Scientologists strive to live. Like Scientology, the usefulness of these principles determines their worth. Scientologists follow these precepts by applying Scientology technology, which again, they're just borrowing words. It doesn't mean Scientology's technology in the sense of the real meaning of words. By the way, every cult, you have to make your own dictionary. You can't just go with the Oxford English Dictionary. You got to make your own because it wouldn't work otherwise. In dealing with others in the administration of their groups and practices. Okay. Let's see how long this auditor's code is. Pick out a few things from it. Okay, it came, Dianetics is the book, and I hereby promise, as an auditor, to follow the auditor's code. I promise not to evaluate for the pro-clear or tell him what he should think. I think this is the doofus, the doofus who's actually sitting and learning here. I promise not to evaluate or tell him what he should think about his case in session. Okay, let him come. I promise not to invalidate the pre-clear. Oh, pre-clear, that's it. Okay, he's not clear yet. He's fuzzy, kind of like me. Case or gains, I promise to administer only standard tech. Standard tech, which is, we made the standard, and I promise to go by this man-made standard tech. Okay, so, yeah, a lot of this is just psycho babble. He's got to have sufficient rest. He's not physically tired. He's got to be fed. It's a little bit humanitarian psychobabble. This is a sort of maybe in its most positive light, a good counselor might follow these. Somebody really just wants to counsel somebody. Okay, I want you to come to the conclusion. I want to make sure that you're not tired and hungry. It's not just be switching every 2 days. I'll sympathize with you. There's nothing here. This is all just, interpersonal relations kind of stuff. I was looking to see, you get all this. The Claims Verification Board. Don't ever be a religion that has a claims verification board. Talk about selling your soul. See what the Claims Verification Board has to say. Forget it. If there's a God, he doesn't need a claims verification board. Oh my. Yeah, a lot of this cure illness or treat the insane, it's a lot of helping people through their problems. And again, cults do this because cha-ching, everybody has problems. And people with problems come searching for answers. People in Hollywood especially have a lot of problems. And yet they've kind of cleared themselves that Scripture could possibly give them answers to their problems. And so they say, I don't want to be under the authority of a heavy-handed God. I would rather be under the authority of the Claims Verification Board. And they go and somebody's nice to them and takes care of them, rubs their feet, gives them a Kleenex, and helps them. Okay, so that, again, that doesn't really talk about, that's just how you're going to treat people. My guess is, I don't know, let's try the aims of Scientology. My guess is Scientology is mostly just trying to be a nice person. But let's try this aims of Scientology. They want a civilization without insanity, without criminals, without war. This reminds me. I keep going back to whatever I've been listening to or studying. I've been talking about Harry S. Truman lately. And Harry S. Truman was running against the Republican Thomas E. Dewey. Now, 2023 is not 1948. In 1948, Republicans were mostly liberal. They were the Wall Street elite liberals. And Thomas E. Dewey was certainly one of those. But all through the Truman administration, really going back even a few years, Thomas E. Dewey almost beat Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who was also himself a liberal in his last term. So Dewey thought he had it in the bag, and his whole platform was unity. We need to come together as a nation. We need to be unified. I hear this all today by do-nothing Republicans. You know, we just need to be unified. We need to have a positive message. Harry S. Truman. Remember the slogan that came up about Truman? I don't know if I'm supposed to say this on a family program, but everybody started, because of his speeches. He was rough in his speeches, kind of like Donald Trump. And he had mean tweets, Harry S. Truman did. And the people who liked him, the thing they would shout out about to Harry S. Truman was, again, if you don't want your children to hear this, you can turn the sound down for just a moment. It's not that bad, but they would shout out, "Give him hell, Harry! Give him hell, Harry!" Because they liked the way Harry Truman jabbed at the monster. Anyway, one of the things Harry Truman, he got in his whistle-stop speeches, one of the things he got real big on was, my opponent wants unity. And then he would go on and talk about unity in his big bank account, unity in everybody doing what he wants, unity, and he talked about all this unity in all these bad things. What in the world do we want this unity for? Okay, now we come to the aims: a civilization without insanity, without criminals, without war. Oh, that sounds just wonderful. Oh, yeah, that's what I want. I'm going to become a Scientologist. Listen, don't be so stupid, Tom Cruise. Don't be so stupid. Anybody can say this, and that's what everybody wants. Okay. Non-political in nature, any individual, any creed, race, nation, as long as it goes with their creed, race, and nation. Seek no revolution. It's a kumbaya kind of thing. Knowledge. We just need knowledge. His mind. We need to know about ourselves, our mind, our universe. There's really no revelation or substance here. As you look through, maybe it's somewhere else, but boy, they don't make it very clear, do they? What is Scientology? It is the unbiblical version of kumbaya, my lord, kumbaya. That's what it is. Scott, you're right. Harry would retort, "I just tell them the truth and they think it's hell." So good. Okay, there we go. That's what is Scientology. I'll go ahead and put that. I don't know who asked the question because it came in anonymously, but I'm going to go ahead and put that on the first time question playlist. I know we spent quite a bit of time on the questions we've had today, but it's been fun, hasn't it? Let me just add. I studied a unit of Scientology in the late 80s. So it's been a long time. But I think you could take Dianetics. What's the full name of the Dianetics book? There is Dianetics, the modern science of mental health. Not available at Dispensational Publishing. the modern science of mental health. So what Dianetics is, or what Scientology is manipulative, feel-good counseling. That's what Scientology is. And rich, white, well-to-do people often will turn to it because it provides them some comfort. In other words, it's a little bit interpersonal dynamics and group dynamics, which you and I really have to be careful, because we can get swept up in group dynamics or interpersonal dynamics really easy and escape truth, or just live in the truth of what makes us feel good, because there are certain things that make us feel good. And I think if you get, in fact, tonight's study of Jeroboam, we're gonna look at some stuff. Why did the whole nation instantly turn to worshiping golden calves? Made them feel good. And I think that's why, I keep it right here on my desk. I've got the board, I've got the cup. Question the assumptions. And then on top of that, I'm reminded to be ye persnickety, because it's so easy to get caught in what feels good as a group and what feels good as an individual. And I think Scientology just mastered the art of helping people feel good. If you want to grow a cult, that is the way to do it. I would suggest, if you're thinking about doing a cult, I would suggest skipping the rich white people now, because they go to Scientology, and find one for poor people that would include a good group dynamic and a good mental lift, a good escape from the challenges of the day. You get a big crowd there. Robert in Crystal Springs, Mississippi, has a question about 1 Corinthians 15, verse 28. Of course, that's the chapter on the resurrection. And let's read the passage first on Biblify. It says, "And when all things shall be subdued unto him, then shall the Son also himself be subject unto him that put all things under him, that God may be all in all." Okay, the question, 1 Corinthians 15:28, when is this, and how does it relate to God becoming all in all? Does it bring about any change in our life and eternity? Let's start out with the when is this, and let's, in the context, I think it's easier to answer. He, Jesus, must reign on earth, talking about his physical reign on earth, till he hath put all enemies under his feet. The last enemy that shall be destroyed is death. Okay. Death is not destroyed until, shall we say, eternity future. Eternity future is after the great white throne judgment. Death and hell are thrown into the lake of fire. There is no more dying, crying, pain, sickness. I paraphrase that verse in Revelation 21. So let's say after the end of the millennium, just to roughly timing it, it's after the end of the millennium, when he puts all things under his feet, and the last enemy that is destroyed is death. And then he says, right now this is not the case. When all things shall be subdued unto him, then shall the Son also himself be subject unto him that put all things under him, that God may be all in all. Now, what is this? that God may be all in all. I'll tell you what it is. I don't know. That little passage, I want to look at it in Greek, which is not going to help us any, but I want to look at it in Greek. Yeah, it says all in all. Possibly in Greek, you could go to, let me just pull up the Greek text here where you can see it. And here in verse 28, this little section right here is what we're looking at. Since, okay, here you've got the God, the all, in all. Perhaps, notice how the first all right here is in that fiery lettering. That means it's nominative, it's part of the subject. The God, the all, if we're very literal. The God, the all, in all. Probably the best we can do in that particular saying and interpreting is to say the God that is all might be in all. Because right now, the God that is all is left out of some things. A lot of people's lives he's left out of. A lot of societies he's left out of. A lot of religions he's left out of. And when he puts all enemies under his feet, then the God that is all will be in all. I think is the best understanding of 1 Corinthians 15:28, that God may be all in all. Let's check this in Young's Literal and just see how it goes in verse 28. That God may be the all in all. Okay, change the pronoun just a little bit there. Let's just for fun, let's check Darby on this also in verse 28. And he says that God may be all in all. Okay, same as the King James. Yeah, I think that God is all, he's not in all, that he may be all in all. Does this bring about any change in our life and eternity? I think not more than is revealed in Revelation 21. And of course, there is the change of the new heaven, the new earth, the new Jerusalem. That is certainly a big change that comes about. But outside of that which is revealed, I'm not sure necessarily it does. And I think that which is revealed is a summary statement. I don't think it has near the details on it. In fact, I think the passage even itself in Revelation chapter 21 would probably imply, hey, you ain't seen nothing yet. This is just the beginning. But I suppose imagine that you and I know that God is all. And we even say sometimes, he is my all in all. There's a famous Fanny Crosby hymn. I'm trying to think of it. Be thou my vision. I think has that in there. I may be wrong. One of those hymns has got, he is my all in all. And that's an attempt to saying he is all to me and I've given him all. But imagine the change that comes about in life and eternity and the physical world and everything when there is no more curse, and now God, who is all, is in absolutely everything. So there would be no government that didn't have God in it. There would be no church that didn't have God in it. There would be no breath that didn't have God in it. No word that didn't have God in it. So God, the all, becomes in all. Is the best I can do on it. And I think that's a pretty good answer. Thank you. Robert. in Holly Springs, Mississippi. Sometimes I get my springs mixed up and I accidentally put him in Crystal Springs instead of Holly Springs. Different places. A good word Scott's got here. Scientology is king of what is known in the industry as the get well circuit. It continues to be profitable. Sex cults are very lucrative and successful. Yeah, you pick either one of them. And this is something that people are looking for, certain people are looking for. Either, sexual freedom and expression, so find a religion that centers on that, or they're looking for health. And Scientology is one of those that goes for emotional health and physical health. It's trying to help with emotional health and physical health. Possibly Christian thinkers should come along and say, if people are emotionally sick and physically sick, what can Christianity do to help? Let's pretend for just a moment, sorry to revert back to the Scientology question. Let's pretend for a moment that Scientology has discovered some things that will make people emotionally and physically healthy. If they have, they're not unique to Scientology. They just maybe have done some study again on interpersonal dynamics or group psyche that says, hey, if you do this, this happens. And the truth is, you take medicine, for example, and let's pretend like there's nothing wrong with medicine. Let's stick our head in the sand and pretend like everything's good there. But I don't know, let's take an aspirin. An aspirin does the same thing for a pagan as it does for a very religious person. So Christianity might do good to say, okay, these are some things that emotionally help a person click. And help people with those things because they do have emotional problems. And physical, the get well circuit. What's wrong with saying, I'm sick, I need to go to the church? The church has really had very little answer for that in modern times. Used to have some answer to that. But in modern times, the best the church could do is gather around and put a little oil on your head and pray over you. And because of the silence of God in the age that we live, it didn't work very good. They still died. The church used to do better. That's why I suspect that anywhere you go in the United States, there is within probably even, I'll say 50 miles. Anywhere in the United States within 50 miles. I'm cutting it narrow there. I may need to go out to 100, but because some places in Montana, there's nothing within 50 miles. Okay. Except for wide open spaces. Anywhere you go within 50 miles in the United States, there is a hospital that originally was started by the church. That's why anywhere in America within 50 miles, there is Baptist hospital, Methodist hospital, Presbyterian hospital. In fact, go to Dallas, you got all three of them right there. There's a Baptist hospital, there's a Methodist hospital, there's a Presbyterian hospital. Go to a certain part of the country, you got the Lutheran hospital. Certain part of the countries, you got some Jewish hospitals. They actually recognize people get sick, and we know some things that could help them get better. Just before the program, I took my vitamin C, and I wondered, why aren't you taking your vitamin C? And I don't mean one little pill a day. I mean like 10. Helps you, like it helped me. Continues to help me. We ought to tell people this. We ought to tell people how electricity works, electrons in the body, and how vitamin C comes in and provides more electrons, keeps you from getting sick, from getting oxidated. We ought to do more of that like we used to. Why was it that the Baptists started a hospital? Because they recognized there were sick people, and hey, we're good humanitarians down here at the Baptist Church, and we can help. Now, it's like, oh, no, no, no. Don't mix medicine and religion. You gotta have pagan people from the CDC to do medicine. And by giving up medicine to the government, just like by giving up welfare to the government, we the church people, have caused untold harm. And Scientology maybe is coming along and saying, okay, hey, we'll get in on this. We'll help people physically, and we'll help people. Isn't there a hospital, Scientology hospital? Am I wrong there? I might be wrong. Let's see. No, I think I'm wrong. But I'm just curious here. What are their positions on medical treatment and doctor? I'm trying to bring up the page, but it's not really going there. I don't know if that's my computer. In the FAQ section, they do have a position on medical treatment and doctors. Scientologists, I can get the brief part. Scientologists seek conventional medical treatment for illnesses or injuries. Scientologists use prescription drugs. Church of Scientology has always held the firm policy of not diagnosing or treating the sick. Okay. So then I don't know if they have their hospitals or not. It doesn't look like it. There we go. It came up now. And has always had the firm policy of not diagnosing or treating the sick. Medical doctors are trained to deal with physical aspects of illness and injury. A Scientologist with a physical condition is advised to seek and obtain the needed examination and treatment of qualified medical professional. Independent of any medical treatment, a Scientologist then addresses any accompanying spiritual trauma associated with the condition. That sounds like some Baptist position or something there. But anyway, yeah, they are big on the get well circuit because so much illness is psychosomatic. That is, it started with an emotional issue and led you to illness. Thank you. Okay, Nancy, I am holding your question off till tomorrow. Sorry about that. Nancy's got a question on Psalm 106, verses 30 through 31, and we will take that out. But we'll go there. And so those of you closing out today, if you go to our, see if I can get us there. Here we go. If you go to our website, randywhiteministries.org, right here, that's the live now. It's not going to be live now for too much longer. But if you click on any of them, let's click on this one that's not live. There's yesterday's program, and you go right there, and then just scroll down a little bit, and there's the Ask a Question button that you can click and put in your question. You don't have to do the name and the email, but you do have to do the question if you're going to send it. And we'll be ready to go tomorrow. And notice that here we've got like today's questions. What is Scientology right there? You can just click on any of those. You can go back. Now, some of the questions I could fix this, but it would take a little work. Like today, I had an evangelical garbage segment on shame on you for not being to church. What if the apostles had been like that? And I had a long segment on, hey, the Pauline message was not Pauline after all. It's not on there. That's because those questions didn't come through either our live chat If you put a question on YouTube or Ask the Theologian, or you put a question on then it pops up over there. I got to click the button in my hopper, and basically that's to say, if it didn't get in my hopper, it doesn't show up on that list. Maybe I should put it all in the hopper. While you're there, by the way, at Randy White Ministries, you just ought to click the events button and see our 9th annual Randy White Ministries Labor Day Bible Conference, September 1 through 4. Look forward to seeing you for that. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us today. Nathan on the controls, and each one of you here putting your brain and your Bible together. Tonight, Jeroboam is the king, and we're going to see things begin to turn sour. And we're going to see a lot of manipulation on Jeroboam's part in order to save the swamp tonight, about 10 minutes after 6 p.m., after we have a little fellowship supper right here at America's greatest tiny church. Till tonight.